Hello and welcome to CoderzColumn. My name is Sunny Solanki, and in today's video I will explain how to create a simple dashboard using Python libraries Plotly and Dash. Plotly is very famous Python library for creating charts, and Dash is a dashboarding library available from the same company which has created Plotly to create dashboards. Dashboards let us include Plotly charts and let us create various widgets and so on to modify those charts. So we'll be creating a very simple dashboard, and I have a sample image open on my screen, as you can see, showing how our dashboard will look. So the dashboard is very simple. As you can see, it has only two charts. So first chart is a scatter chart. So scatter chart shows the relationship between two columns of our data set. So and then above scatter chart I have two drop downs, so I can change the drop down values and that columns will be selected from the dataset for X and Y axis. And then I have one checkbox. So checkbox is used to color the points of the chart based on one categorical column of our dataset. So by default, all the points will be colored with single blue color. But as we select this checkbox, it will be colored based on the unique values of that column, categorical column. And then on the right side we have a stacked bar chart, and on the top we have a multi-select. So multi-select let us select various columns of our data set, and stacked bar chart shows the average value of that columns based on that categorical column. So I will explain you this data set which we have used for our tutorial as we start coding. So yeah, that was a small introduction to what kind of dashboard we are going to create. Now let's jump to my editor and get started with the coding part. So as you can see on my screen, now I have opened our Visual Studio Code, the editor that I am going to use, but you can use any other editor or even any text editor which you feel comfortable working with. So as you can see, I have created a Python file named plotly dashboard.py, and this is the file in which we will be keeping our dashboard code. So I have few imports at the beginning, and then I have included code to load the data that we are going to use. So let me explain the imports first. So pandas is the library which we'll use to maintain our dataset. Plotly express will be used to create charts. Then we have imported a load wine dataset. So wine dataset which we are going to use for our purpose is available from library scikit-learn. It's a very famous machine learning library. And from dash I have few import. So this dash function will be used to create a web app. HTML is a submodule of dash which let us create various HTML components like div, h1, h2 text and so on. DCC is another submodule of dash which is dash core components. It's a short for dash core components, and this module let us create various widgets. And callback is a decorator, so we'll be using this decorator to link our widgets with our charts, so when the widget state changes the charts will be updated. And then from dash.dependencies I have imported input and output. So these two functions will be used along with callback to create callbacks and link widgets with chart. Right. So over here I have code to load the data set. So what I will do in order to explain how our data set look, let me open a Jupyter notebook and execute this same code over there and show you how our data set looks. Right. So as you can see on my screen, I have a Jupyter notebook open. So let me execute this code, and all right, I will execute this line of code. So as you can see, when I executed this code, it returned me a data frame named wine.df, and that data frame has our total data set. So load wine function is used to load the wine data set. Then I have created a pandas data frame using that data set, and I have also included a column named wine type. So this is a machine learning data set which has information about various ingredients used in creation of 3 different types of wines. So feature names are ingredient names, and wine type is the target variable. So we'll be using this data set for our purpose. And as you can see from the data frame, it has column names which are various ingredients like alcohol, malic acid, ash, and so on. And the last column is wine type. So this is the categorical column, and we have three different types of wine: class 0, class 1, and class 2. So this is the data set we will use for our scatter chart. And then I have stored list of ingredients in variable name ingredients. And then I have created one more data frame from our wine data frame. So what I have done over here is that I have grouped the entries based on wine type. So there are three wine types: class 0, class 1, and class 2. So we have grouped entries based on that wine types, and then I have called mean function. So what I have over here is that I have average values of these ingredients for wine type. So for class 0, I have on an average 13.74 alcohol. For class 1, I have 12.27 average alcohol, and so on. So this second data set will be used to create our stacked bar chart. So this first scatter chart will be created using wine df, and this stacked bar chart will be created using average wine df. Right, so let's me jump to my editor and let me create our first chart, which is scatter chart. So I will create a simple method named create scatter chart, and this method accepts three parameters: what column to use for x-axis, what column to use for y-axis, and whether to color encode the points of the chart based on wine type or not. So I will set default value that by default let's use first alcohol column for x-axis and malic acid for y-axis, and by default I will set color encode to false because we don't want to color the points from the beginning. Now in order to create a chart, I will use plotly express dot scatter method. First parameter to this method is our wine df dataset. Then I will say for x-axis use x-axis, which came as a parameter. For y-axis use y-axis, and for color use wine type if color encode is set, else none. So if color encode is true, then it will color points based on wine type, else it will not. So that's our scatter chart. So it's that simple. I will simply add a title as well. I will say I will use formatted string. So say x axis dot capitalize and y axis dot capitalize. Right, so we have our scatter chart ready. So I will save this one to scatter fig variable, and let me move this on the next line. So we are able to create our scatter chart with just 2 lines of code. I will return this scatter fig from this method. And one more thing I will set: by default plotly express creates a chart which has less height. So I will set a scatter figure, and then I will call a method name update layout. Over here I can specify height, so I will set it to 600 pixel. So we are done with our first chart. So let's test this method in Jupyter Notebook, that whether it's working fine or not. So I will copy this code over here. Let me copy it over here. Let me just execute this line of code. So as you can see, it created the chart alcohol versus malic acid, and let me set color encode to true to check whether it's coloring points based on wine type. Yeah, so wine type class 0, class 1, and class 2, and points are colored based on that. So we have successfully created our scatter chart. So let's move on and create a stacked bar chart as well. So over here I will simply say charts. Let me include some comments, and the next method is def create bar chart. Now this method will accept a single parameter named ingredients. So these are the list of ingredients for which we want to show average price or average value in our chart. So by default, I will include three ingredients. First three ingredients: alcohol, malic acid, and ash. This three ingredient, and I will again use px plotly express dot bar to create a bar chart. This time I will use the data frame average wine df. Then I will say for x-axis use wine type. So this one is a categorical column, if you remember, and y will be list of ingredients. And then I will set title to average ingredients per wine type. So this is our bar figure, and then I will call bar figure dot update layout as well to set the height to 600 pixel, and then I will return bar figure from this method. So we have our function to create a bar chart ready, stacked bar chart. So let's test this one as well in Jupyter Notebook. Right, so here we go. And yeah, as you can see, our stacked bar chart is ready. As you can see, we have three ingredients: alcohol, malic acid, ash. And whenever I hover over any of them, I can see the average values. Yeah, so both of our functions are ready. Now we'll be reusing this function. So we can call these functions with different arguments and it will create a chart for us. Now that we are done with the chart, let's go ahead and create widgets. So first of all, I will create two drop downs. These two drop downs. So in order to create a drop down, we need to use DCC module or DCC submodule of dash, which we imported, as you can see. So I will say DCC dot, there is a function named drop down. Now first of all, we need to give unique ID to each of the components. So we'll be giving unique ID to charts, we'll be giving unique ID to all these widgets. So this will be used when this will be useful when we link this widget with chart. So we will be using this ID to refer to these components. Okay, so we need to give unique IDs. So I will say x-axis, that will be there. Then there is a parameter named options, and that I will set to ingredients. So list of ingredients, and value is, what is the default value? So I will set it to alcohol. So this for x-axis, I will set it, save it to x-axis variable. So okay, so we have set options, values, and default value is alcohol for x-axis, and let's set clearable to false because dash let us clear the drop down values by default. So we want at least one of the values from the drop down to be selected for our purpose. So okay, so we can't clear it, at least one value will be there, and clearable is done. Okay, so that is our x-axis. Let's create another one for y-axis. Okay, again options will be ingredients, list of ingredients. For y-axis, default value I will set to malic acid. So we have created two drop downs. Let's create our checkbox. So in order to create a checkbox, there is a method named checklist, and for checklist I will set ID to color and code, and options to color and code. So options are list of checklists. Generally this checklist is used when you want to create a group of checkboxes, when you have more than one checkboxes, but in our case we have only one checkbox, so we'll be using checklist for our purpose. So I will save it to color and code variable. If you have more than one checkboxes, then in over here in options you can provide them one after another. And the value by default will be empty, so I'm not setting it over here, but it will be empty by default, so this checkbox won't be selected. So we are done with the widgets of our first chat. These three are created. Let's create a multi-select for second chat. So I will create a variable name multi-select and dcc dot, again drop down is the same method which will be used to create multi-select. I will set id to multi-select. Options will be again set to ingredients, and value will be, I will keep 3 ingredients by default: alcohol, malic acid and ash to be selected. So that I will set over here. And okay, so value, and then we need to set one more argument, which is multi to true. So what this will do is that it will create a multi select for us, and I will set clearable to false as well. Right, so we are done with our widgets. So 4 widgets are ready, 3 for scatter charts and 1 for a bar chart. So let's go ahead and create our app, web app. So I will comment web app layout. Now I will create an app by calling dash function. So what this dash function will do is that it will create an independent web app, and we can give title to web app wine analysis. Let's say it wine analysis. So this is independent app. Now what we need to do is that we need to create a layout for our dashboard. So we need to link all the widgets and chart into one web page. So the app that we created has a attribute name layout, and over here we'll be assigning the layout of our dashboard. So I'll be creating div first. So what this will do is that it will create a HTML div. If you are aware with HTML, there is a div tag which is like some part of a page where we can combine things. So we'll be creating a div. Now the div has a attribute name children, which we can give list of children. Okay, so we have set layout using div, and children are list of children, which can be various HTML components. So first of all, I will include h1 tag. I will say wine analysis dataset. Okay, below that I will again include another div with simple just text saying explore relationship between various ingredients used in creation of 3 different types of wines. Class 0, class 1 and class 2. Okay, so we have included header of our web app and then simple text. Next I will add a simple space by calling br. So this is same as a breakline function, breakline tag of HTML. Okay, so you know the initial layout of our dashboard is ready. So let's just try to bring this dashboard up. So first of all, I will simply code is equal to underscore main, and I will say app dot run server and debug equal to true, because this is not in production. We need to set debug to true, otherwise when you deploy this server the debug can be set to false. So if you set debug to false, it generates many logging messages. All right, so let's run this one. and check how our initial dashboard looks. So I will go to shell, and I have code. So I will simply need to execute this Python file. So the Python file name is plotly dashboard. Yeah, so the server is ready. So let me just copy this one. The server is running on 127.0.0.1 and 8050 port, and Flask is the server used by plotly behind the scene. So let me show you how our initial dashboard. So as you can see, we have header over there and then small text. All right, so let's go ahead, and now let's add chart and widgets. So again, I will use the div. Now in this div, I will include our first chart and its components, so all the widgets and the chart itself. So I will say children. In this div, I want children's, which x-axis, y-axis, color and code. And then now in order to include a chart, we need to use dcc.graph function, and as usual we need to give some id over here. So I will say scatter chart, and there is a parameter named figure which we need to set, and I will call this function create scatter chart over here to assign the figure returned by this function scatter chart, which is our scatter chart. All right, so we have included x-axis, y-axis, so three widgets, two drop downs, one checkbox, and our chart. So let's just check how now the dashboard looks. Okay, so dashboard is up. Yeah, and as you can see, we have our chart included, and as you can see, the drop down is spread throughout the screen, but we will handle this layout. Let's just first include the second chart as well, and then we will set the layout. Okay, so this was the first div. Let's go ahead and include another div. So this div is for multi-select, so I will copy multi-select. Over here I will say bar chart. Here, create bar chart. Okay, so the div for the second one is included as well. So let's just check the code. Okay, it says I forgot the comma. Yes, over here I need to include a comma. html.div. Okay, so what error? Multi-select. Oh, I forgot one comma over here as well. Yeah, so now the code is fine. Okay, let's check. Okay, so we have both the chart ready. Okay, so let's go ahead and modify the layout. Now all this component, HTML components, and this drop down and widgets, all of them have one parameter named style, and that let us specify CSS styling information. So what I will do over here is that for first div, I will include styling information saying display column inline block, and I will say width use 49% of the width. Okay, so it will use 49% of the available width, and same I will do with the second div as well. And I want that these drop downs also appear next to each other, so I will modify that as well. So let me include over here. Okay, and so okay, so let's just okay, so the dashboard is fine. Let me do one more thing. So let me add a little bit of padding. So this is our main div, and over here I will say padding to 50 pixel. So let me bring down the server and bring it up again. Okay, so this chart is moving a little bit down. So let me do one more thing. Let me try to reduce the width a little bit. Okay, let's reduce the width of this one as well. Okay, let's change the width over here and see whether it's solving our issue or not. Right, so let me try with different installation. So I have different environment. Let's try with that one. Python 391. So the current version I was using was Python 3.11. Let's try with Python 3.9.1. Okay, let me copy this link and let's just okay. First of all, let me add a few break lines over here. So I will okay, so the layout setting takes a little bit of time. So there was a one break line which I had introduced, and that solved the problem. So as you can see now, our charts are properly aligned and our dashboard is almost ready. Let's do one more thing. Let's move this wine analysis dataset header and this in the center. So that we can do by setting style parameter over here. Style, I will say text align to center. Same I will copy and use for the text as well. Right, so let's test it. Okay, okay, so now the dashboard is almost ready. So we have our widgets and charts included, but when I change this widget, I don't see the charts are getting updated. So that's the last step we have to do. We have to define callbacks. The callbacks are function which will link this widget to this chart. So whenever any changes to this widget state is made, like drop down value is changed, the chart will be updated based on that. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I will define callbacks below our app layout. So the first callback that we will declare is update scatter chart. Now this function will simply, I will take three arguments. So we have three widgets and there is a one parameter for all of them. So I will say x-axis, y-axis, and color and code. And from this function, I will call create scatter chart, and I will give this 3 argument to this call. Okay, success and color encode. Now in order to link this callback with widget, we need to use callback decorator, and this decorator takes generally takes 2 parameters. The first parameter is call to output, so which component we want to set, that will be provided to output, and then list of calls to input. So we have 3 widgets, so 3 times we need to call input. And now the first argument to this output is the component ID, and second is component property that we want to update. So in our case, we want to update this scatter chart. So I will copy component ID as scatter chart over here. And next I want to update figure of that component. So I will copy over here figure. Okay, so ID I took it from here, and I want to update figure. So when any widget state changes and this function gets executed, it will call create scatter chart, and whatever figure is written by that will be set in figure parameter, or figure attribute of that component. And for input, same, the component ID. So in our case, component ID is x-axis, and whenever the value changes, the value, this is the component property for x-axis whenever value changes. So over we provide ID, so do remember that. That's why I had put little bit of stress on using unique IDs. So x-axis and then value, same. So for x-axis drop down, when value changes, then this callback will be called. Same will be for y-axis, it will be value, and same for color encode as well, value. So whenever any of this 3 changes, any drop down or checkbox, this callback will be executed, and it will set the new scatter chart in figure parameter. So let's test this checkbox. Oh, sorry, this callback. Okay, so let me set hash. Let me bring up server again. Okay, so as I change the drop down values, it's updating chart, as you can see. Let's select, as you can see, I select checkbox, it's coloring based on wine type. Yeah, so our first chart is ready. Let's create another callback for our second chart. So what I will do, I will copy our code over here. I will say update bar chart. Over here I will call create scatter chart, and this method will have only one parameter, which is ingredient, which I will pass over here. Okay, and there is only one input in case of stack bar chart, which is multi-select, and the name of multi-select is multi-select, and value. Okay, so value, and the ID of bar chart is bar underscore chart. So now what this will do is that whenever the multi-select value changes, it will call this function, which will create a new bar chart. And let me say create a bar chart and set it as for a figure parameter of our component, which is bar chart. Right, so let's test this one. Let me bring down the server and bring it up again. Okay, so let's rerun this one. Let's test. Okay, total phenols. Okay, let's try few more ingredients. Yeah, as you can see that working just fine. And as I change various widgets value, the charts are getting updated. So yeah, so we are done with the creation of our dashboard. And as you can see that we were able to create a dashboard in around 70 to 75 lines. It's less than 75 lines because for sometime we have spread the code to multiple lines for readability purpose, but it's around the 70 lines of code. So we end up creating a simple dashboard in 70 lines of code. And so this is a very good tutorial starting point for someone who is new to Dash and want to learn it. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you liked our video and you feel that you learned something new today, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and yeah, see you next time.